Alright dudes, how's it going? And welcome to Over the Gun TV's My 2 Pence review of Castlevania Portrait of Ruin. Now I'm a big fan of Castlevania games. It's my favourite Konami license, hands down. In fact, it's actually one of my favourite platforming licenses. And I've loved pretty much every Castlevania game, bar one or two. The GBA games were great, and although I can't admit to actually completing any one of them, which may tell you a little bit about the game, I do appreciate what they did on GBA, and it was purely down to the hardware limitations of the Game Boy Advance that stopped it from looking as good as Symphony Night and also sounding as good as Symphony Night. But I thought they did a pretty good job on them. They've got it entirely spot on though with the DS versions of Castlevania. They've got the audio power and they've got the visual power to actually emulate that Symphony Night experience one for one almost. Well, if you fucking love Symphony Night that much, why don't you marry it? Well, that's not the point really. It's more along the lines that Symphony Night is the benchmark, the yardstick that all the Castlevania games since have had to measure up to, and Portrait of Ruin certainly does in my opinion. Released in 2006, not only does Portrait of Ruin achieve the standard of Symphony Night, it goes a little bit beyond it in some circumstances. Despite having control of two characters rather than just one, the game's a lot friendlier towards new and average players, whereas Symphony Night definitely lent itself towards mastering and knowing the game. There's still situations when knowing which character to use or what spells or what abilities to use will definitely benefit you in a similar style to Symphony Night, but the game leads you towards using which character. It gives you hints and explains how to use your abilities correctly. It's these same abilities that make the game really interesting in my opinion. Charlotte, the female protagonist, she has such a wide array of spells and the books which do different things for the melee attack. Very well executed, very fun. You can just start casting a spell which is achieved by holding up and pressing the attack button, and she'll have like a cast bar similar to an online RPG. The earlier you release the spell, the weaker it'll be if you charge up to max, then you get the full level of the spell. Jonathan, the male protagonist, is your typical Belmont. He's got a whip, he likes to whip shit out of zombies and skeletons and bats and Medusa heads and whatever the fuck comes in his way. He does get quite a host of other weapons such as maces, knuckle dusters, swords, all that good shit that I like to see. He's also got your standard issue kind of like axes, daggers. I presume he gets crosses and all that good shit later on as well. The axes and the daggers use the MP bar like they've always done in Castlevania games, but the big difference in Portrait of Ruin, which stoked me somewhat, is that the MP bar actually regenerates, which eliminates the need to go around hunting for hearts so you can use your axes and your daggers again. The tag system's a big difference compared to the older Castlevania games as well, and it's pretty well executed. It's a little bit cumbersome to begin with, it takes a while to get used to, but once you do get used to it, you'll be switching backwards and forwards with ease, you'll be calling out your partner and tagging them out, no problems whatsoever. It's well done to the point where it actually feels like you do have a partner assisting you through the castle, as opposed to hindrance or stupid computer controlling a secondary character that is no use whatsoever.
Jonathan!
The overall setting to Portrait of Ruin is real interesting as well. You're in Dracula's castle, as always, but the main difference in this one is that you can kind of jump into paintings fucking Mario 64 style, and it'll take you to various locations such as London and Egypt. I think it's London, it's ye olde time anyway. The game handles exactly the same as Symphony Night to me, or I can't tell any difference anyway. Maybe a professional Symphony Night player can. Professional Symphony Night in quote marks. Nothing particularly jaw-dropping about the use of dual screens here, but it is nice to have the map up at all times, or alternatively you can have a character and a monster information display. Portrait of Ruin looks, sounds and plays absolutely perfect, and if you're a fan of other Castlevania games, I cannot see you not liking this. Highly recommended, and that's my 2 pence.